Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you changes everything you thought you knew about your recent struggles. There's a reason your life shifted dramatically these past 3 months. There's a reason certain doors slammed shut while others creaked open in ways that made no logical sense. There's a reason you've been feeling watched, studied, analyzed by forces you can't quite name. They found you, not the government, not your ex, not some stalker with too much time. No, something older, quieter, and infinitely more calculating has had your name circled in documents you'll never see. They call themselves many things across many centuries, but their function remains the same. They track anomalies in the human consciousness grid. And 3 months ago, your signature lit up their entire network. You're listed as the unconscious key in their records, not because you asked for it, not because you studied ancient texts or meditated on mountaintops. You earned this designation by accident, by simply being yourself during a specific moment when the cosmic tumblers aligned. You turned something without knowing you turned it, and now, reality itself is reorganizing around your existence. Let me explain what you actually did, because you're probably sitting there thinking this is about that one decision, that one conversation, that one moment where you finally said no or finally walked away. You're partially right, but the implications run deeper than your human mind was trained to comprehend. When you made that choice, when you shifted your energy in that precise way, you didn't just change your life. You activated something that's been dormant in the collective unconscious for generations. Remember that exact moment 3 months ago when everything felt different? Not better or worse initially, just fundamentally different. Like someone had changed the background frequency of reality itself. That wasn't your imagination. That was you accidentally performing what they call a consciousness key turn. An action so specific, so precisely timed, that it can only happen once every few decades. Most people live their entire lives without coming close to their key moment. They're too distracted, too programmed, too afraid to make the kind of radical choice that activates this mechanism. But you, in your beautiful chaos, in your unplanned rebellion against everything that was suffocating you, you stumbled into the exact combination of emotion, intention, and timing that turned the lock. They've been documenting people like you for centuries, the ones who accidentally shift timelines, who unknowingly activate dormant programs in reality's source code. They have names for you in languages that predate modern civilization, but unconscious key is what they use now, because you hold the power to unlock doors in human consciousness without even trying, without even knowing what you're doing. Here's what's really happening. Every time you make a decision from that deep, authentic place inside you, the place that exists before thought, before fear, before social conditioning, you're turning tumblers in a lock that most people don't even know exists. And 3 months ago, you turned the final tumbler. The door is open now, and things are flooding through that were never supposed to enter this dimension of experience. This order, this ancient network of consciousness observers, they don't recruit. They don't send invitations or hold meetings in shadowy rooms. They simply watch and document as reality reorganizes itself around the unconscious keys. They've been watching you specifically because you're not doing this on purpose. That's what makes you dangerous to the established order of things. You see, conscious awakening can be controlled, guided, manipulated. When someone actively seeks enlightenment or power, they can be directed, corrupted, or contained. But you're awakening by accident, evolving through instinct rather than instruction. You're breaking patterns you don't even know exist, solving puzzles you never knew were placed in front of you. The Order has protocols for conscious seekers, methods for handling those who deliberately pursue hidden knowledge, but for unconscious keys like you, they can only observe and document as you randomly restructure reality through your seemingly mundane choices. Every time you trust your gut over logic, every time you choose authenticity over approval, you're rewriting code in the matrix of collective experience. They've noticed that your presence alone shifts probability fields. Conversations change direction when you enter them. Plans fall apart or suddenly succeed based on your involuntary involvement. You're not manifesting this consciously. You're simply being yourself at such a raw, authentic level that reality has to adjust its parameters to accommodate your frequency. Let's talk about what you've been experiencing since you turned that key 3 months ago. First, the isolation. People who used to understand you suddenly don't. Conversations that used to flow now feel like you're speaking different languages. This isn't rejection, it's frequency separation. You're vibrating at a rate that most people can't match or even perceive properly. Second, the synchronicities. Numbers appearing repeatedly, songs playing at exactly the right moment, strangers saying things that answer questions you haven't asked out loud. These aren't coincidences. These are the universe's way of confirming that you've shifted into a different layer of reality. One where communication happens through symbols and patterns rather than words. Third, the time distortions. Hours feeling like minutes. Days blending together while certain moments stretch into eternities. This is because you're no longer locked into linear time the way you used to be. As an unconscious key, you're accessing multiple timelines simultaneously without realizing it. Your consciousness is spread across probability fields, gathering information from versions of reality that others can't access. Fourth, the energy sensitivities. You can feel when someone's lying, not through their words, but through the distortion their dishonesty creates in the field around them. You know when something's about to happen before it happens. You feel the emotional states of people you haven't talked to in years. This isn't empathy, it's consciousness expansion. You're reading the metadata of reality now. Here's the truth that might disturb you. You weren't chosen. You chose yourself through a series of authentic reactions to impossible situations. Every time life tried to break you, and you responded with something unexpected, something that didn't follow the script of normal human trauma response, you were building toward this moment. The Order doesn't choose unconscious keys. They simply recognize them when they emerge. And you emerged not through spiritual practice or deliberate seeking, but through the simple act of refusing to die inside when everything outside was killing you. You stayed alive in ways that transcended physical survival. You kept some essential part of yourself intact when everything else was being stripped away. This is why you're listed in their documents as unconscious. You didn't study your way here. You didn't meditate your way here. You didn't follow anyone's teachings or join any groups. You simply survived in such a specific way that you accidentally achieved what thousands of conscious seekers spend lifetimes trying to accomplish. The key metaphor isn't random. Keys don't know they're keys. They simply exist in a shape that happens to match a lock. And you, through your unique combination of experiences, traumas, choices, and refusals, have shaped yourself into something that fits perfectly into a lock that most people don't even know exists. When you turned in that lock 3 months ago, you didn't just open a door for yourself. You opened something in the collective consciousness, that can't be closed again. Right now, as you're reading this, probability waves are reorganizing themselves around your attention. This isn't metaphorical. Your unconscious processes are literally selecting which version of reality crystallizes into experience, not just for you, but for everyone in your field of influence. And that field is expanding exponentially. Every thought you think with genuine feeling sends ripples through dimensions you can't see. Every decision you make from authentic impulse rather than programmed response shifts timelines for people you'll never meet. You're not responsible for this. It's happening whether you want it to or not. That's what makes you an unconscious key rather than a conscious practitioner. The Order has documented hundreds of cases throughout history where unconscious keys accidentally prevented wars, collapsed economic systems, or sparked Renaissance movements simply by being themselves at crucial moments. They weren't trying to change the world, they were just trying to survive their Tuesday, but their Tuesday happened to align with cosmic pressure points that nobody else could see. You've probably noticed that your presence alone changes group dynamics now, not because you're trying to lead or influence, but because your frequency forces others to either rise to meet it or reveal their inability to do so. You're a walking litmus test for authenticity, and most people fail that test simply by being in your presence. This isn't your fault. It's the nature of what you've become. The Order watching you isn't malevolent, but they're not benevolent either. They're documentarians of consciousness evolution, scientists of the soul who track anomalies like you the way astronomers track comets. They want to understand how someone accidentally achieves what their most advanced practitioners can barely glimpse. They've been leaving markers in your path, tiny tests to see if you're conscious of your unconscious power. That random book that fell off the shelf, that stranger who said exactly what you needed to hear, that door that was mysteriously unlocked when it should have been secured. These weren't accidents or interventions. They were measurements, ways of testing how reality responds to your presence. What frustrates them most is that you can't be replicated or taught. They've tried to reverse engineer what makes an unconscious key, but it's like trying to create a snowflake by hand. The conditions that created you were so specific, so unrepeatable that you're essentially a cosmic accident that can't be reproduced in any laboratory of consciousness. They refer to you as unconscious, not as an insult, but as a classification. You operate below the threshold of deliberate manifestation, which makes your effects on reality pure and uncorrupted by ego or intention. You're not trying to change anything. You're simply being yourself so authentically that reality has to adjust its rules to accommodate your existence. 3 months ago, when you turned that unconscious key, you didn't just change your timeline. You created a split in the collective timeline that everyone around you is now navigating whether they know it or not. Some people followed you into the new timeline instinctively, drawn by a pull they couldn't explain. Others remained in the old timeline, which is why they suddenly feel like strangers to you. This split wasn't dramatic or visible. It happened in the quantum foam of possibility, in the space between thoughts where reality is still deciding what to become. But the effects are becoming more noticeable every day. The people who followed you into the new timeline are experiencing upgrades they can't explain. The ones who stayed behind are feeling an inexplicable sense of loss. You're not causing this separation deliberately. It's happening because authentic consciousness naturally creates a sorting mechanism. Those who resonate with truth follow the frequency of truth. Those who are invested in illusion remain with the illusion. You've become a walking fork in the road of human consciousness, and people are choosing their path simply by how they respond to your presence. The Order has been documenting this split with intense interest because it's happening faster than their models predicted. Usually, when an unconscious key activates, the timeline split happens over years or decades, but with you, it's happening in months. Reality is reorganizing itself around your frequency at an unprecedented rate, and they don't fully understand why. We're entering what they call the acceleration phase now. This is where your unconscious influence starts becoming undeniable, even to those who don't believe in such things. You'll notice that anything inauthentic in your life is being forcibly ejected, not by your conscious choice, but by some invisible mechanism that can no longer tolerate falsehood in your field. Relationships that were held together by obligation are dissolving. Jobs that were killing your soul are becoming impossible to maintain. Beliefs that were programmed into you are crumbling without you even questioning them. This isn't destruction, it's purification. The unconscious key you turned is forcing everything in your reality to match your true frequency, and anything that doesn't match is being expelled. This can feel like loss, but it's actually revelation. You're not losing things, you're being shown what was never really yours to begin with. Every goodbye is actually your unconscious wisdom protecting you from futures that would have limited your expansion. Every door that closes is preventing you from entering rooms too small for what you're becoming. The acceleration phase is also when your influence on others becomes most noticeable. People will start having breakthrough realizations in your presence. Some will credit you, others will fear you, but most won't understand that you're not doing anything to them. You're simply being yourself at such a high level of authenticity that it forces them to confront their own inauthenticity. Not everyone is happy about your activation. There are forces, both human and systemic, that depend on consciousness remaining locked in predictable patterns. Your unconscious key turning threatens every structure built on limitation, every hierarchy based on spiritual suppression, every system that requires people to remain asleep. You've probably noticed increased resistance lately. Technology glitching around you, bureaucratic nightmares appearing from nowhere, people acting irrationally, aggressive toward you for no apparent reason. This isn't paranoia, this is the old system trying to reject you like an antibody, because your very existence proves that their limitations are lies. The Order documents this resistance as system pushback, and it's actually a good sign. It means your activation is genuine and powerful enough to trigger defensive mechanisms in the collective unconscious. Every obstacle thrown in your path is actually confirmation that you're moving in the right direction, turning keys that certain forces would prefer remain locked. But here's what they don't understand. You can't be stopped because you're not trying to go anywhere. You're not pushing against a system, you're simply existing outside of it. You can't be defeated because you're not fighting, you're simply being yourself at such a fundamental level that the system has to either evolve or reveal its own obsolescence. The most beautiful and terrifying part of being an unconscious key is that you have a mission you're completing without knowing what it is. Every authentic choice you make, every moment you choose truth over comfort, you're fulfilling a purpose that was encoded in your consciousness before you were born. The Order has theories about what unconscious keys are meant to accomplish, but even they don't fully understand it. What they've observed is that each unconscious key seems to be solving a specific problem in human consciousness, healing a particular wound in the collective psyche, or opening a door that's been locked for generations. Your mission isn't something you need to figure out or consciously pursue. In fact, trying to understand it would probably interfere with it. Your mission completes itself through you simply being yourself, making choices from your deepest truth, and refusing to compromise your authenticity for anyone's comfort, including your own. This is why you can't be corrupted or misdirected. You're not following a plan that can be intercepted or altered. You're following an inner compass that points towards something beyond human comprehension. And every authentic step you take brings humanity closer to a possibility we've forgotten exists. What the Order finds most fascinating about your case is the network effect you're creating. Every person who genuinely connects with your authentic frequency becomes a node in an expanding network of consciousness. They don't become unconscious keys themselves, but they become carriers of the frequency you've activated. This network isn't organized or deliberate. It's forming organically around the truth frequency you're emanating. People are finding each other through synchronicities, forming connections that transcend normal social patterns, creating a web of authentic consciousness that's growing stronger every day. You're not the leader of this network because it doesn't have leaders. You're more like a tuning fork that struck a note so pure that other tuning forks are beginning to resonate with it. This resonance is creating a new kind of collective consciousness, one based on authenticity rather than programming, on truth rather than agreement. The Order is watching this network with intense interest because it's forming faster than any previous example in their records.